So we set up our projects and we brought in our reference, and now we're going to do our reference breakdown sheet inside of Photoshop. So under the downloads, you should have gotten the reference breakdown sheet and the reference breakdown example. So the example we already set up for you, and this will have the coil in it. And now we want to recreate something similar to this for whatever second model that we picked. So I'm going to call this one actually, let's duplicate this. So I'm going to right click on it and click duplicate, because we'll probably want to get back to this for upcoming weeks. So we'll need this sheet for every week. So either keep it saved over here in your downloads, or you can re-download it again always. In fact, I'm going to delete this copy over here, so just move to trash, and I just right click to do that, because I'm going to save it over here where I can bring it into the new weeks that I'm doing. So for this one, I'm again going to click on it, hit the right arrow key, and instead of I'm going to have reference breakdown sheet, and instead of example, I'm going to do clothes pin. So this is my reference breakdown sheet for my clothes pin. I'm going to double click on this, and that's going to launch it inside of Maya because it says .psd. That's a Photoshop document. So inside of here, I need to bring in my reference images. So I'm going to go to Clothespin, click the drop down, go to Source Images, and I'm going to grab these source images right here, and I'm just going to drag and drop those into Photoshop, and it's going to bring these inside the document. Now I'll need to hit Enter for each one of these to kind of come in at the right sizes. I'm going to hit V, which is the hotkey for this Move tool up here, and I can Option click to select any one of these. So you can see it just jumped to a different view when I did that. So Option click, and I'm just sort of spreading these out. Now I need to scale them so they fit inside these boxes. You can keep the imagery vertical like this if you want. I'm going to go ahead and hit Command T for free transform, and if I go to one of the corners and hold down Shift, I can rotate these and it'll snap, and I'll hit Enter, and I'm going to Option click on this guy, hit Command T, hold down Shift, hit Enter to finish that tool off. Let's just move this guy up here, Option click, and we'll just kind of get these guys oriented. Okay. If we check out the reference breakdown example, now you can see we just have to label out the parts and kind of point to where those parts are located in each view. So we could call this, let's say, wood top, wood bottom, and then spring. So the clothespin only has 3 parts. I'm going to Shift select these layers over here, and I'm going to click this little folder to group them. I'm going to call this reference. So we can kind of organize this similar to how we're going to organize a Maya scene. So I'm going to click the text tool over here, and let's do my text in black. And I'm going to click here. And let's bring this down to maybe 18. I'm going to hit 1. So we have the wood top. I'm going to hit Enter, then 2, wood bottom, Enter, and then 3 is the spring. I can hit V. Oops. Actually, we have to exit out of this first, so I could click either another layer here, or I could have simply clicked on the tool to kind of get out of there. And let's click on that text layer, and you can kind of position this. So I'm just using Shift and the arrow keys to kind of quickly move this around to a place that looks good. And I'm going to go ahead and bring up the text tool again, and I'm just going to put a number 1 out here, and to make it easier to see, let's maybe pick like a bright red or a bright green, something that's going to show up against this background. So I'm just going to have a 1 and a dot, and we can highlight this by clicking and dragging over it, and let's make this bold. So whatever you picked, maybe make it bold so it sticks out a little bit more, and let's go up in our font size a bit just so it's nice and big. Now if I want to duplicate this, I can hold down Alt and drag this guy, and that's going to duplicate any layer inside of Photoshop. So it's going to be difficult to point the top or the bottom out in this view because we don't really know what is what. So I'm not holding down Alt this time, but I'm going to drag this guy down here. Then I'm going to hold down Alt and drag a number 1 over here. So now we have, you know, these 3 layers, and let's make a line. So if we use the pen tool, I can click from here to here and hit return. Actually, that did not make a line for me, so let's actually use the paintbrush. And if you hover over these, they will kind of tell you how to use them. But I'm going to use the paintbrush, and I'm going to make a new layer. And let's just use the bracket keys to bring the brush size up a bit. And I'm going to click one dot here, hold down Shift, and click another dot here, and it's going to put a straight line. I'm going to do this with each one. So these are going to be just on one layer. And if you want to undo and change the size of the brush, you can come up here, which is your history stack, and we could always go back to where we created that first one. So let's use the bracket keys again to make it a little bit smaller. And again, I'm holding down Shift to draw a straight line, just to point to where that top wood piece is. Then I'm going to Shift select all of these layers, group them, call this top underscore wood. So that's our top wood piece. So I would continue doing that for the rest of these pieces, and then this will be one of the 2 documents that'll get turned in with your project for this week. So make sure you continue and you do all the reference. Please do not pick, well, you can pick the clothespin, but don't pick it just because I did part of this. Pick a model that's going to really interest you for this week's turn-in.